Now, this is something I don't know how much you are familiar with the Pan-African African movement. Okay.
Mm.
But many young Africans constantly talk about one Africa. Okay. Uh, so in your view, would
Mm.
this one Africa ever be a reality?
That's a good question, and I can't say I have the answer, but my perspective on it is that it was the initial way that I went about Vemoye was the concept of Pan-Africanism, which I still think there is some truth to that. We as people say, I'm sure you've heard in terms of what constitutes Nigeria, what constitutes all these other countries, were just lines that were put by those who colonized the
Okay.
continent. So because of that, people will say, technically, really, we're just one Africa. But even before that, we had communities. We had tribes of sorts. We were still working individually in a sense. And I think that many of the problems that face the continent are similar from country to country. So I
Yeah.
think we can draw on each other's experiences. But the continent is so large, it's so big that I struggle to see whether it's realistic to say that we will. There's a way of like all of it happening all at once with the continent. I will say though, I do push the narrative that if we do work on Nigeria, being that it's one in five Africans are Nigerian. If we work on Nigeria, we go a long way to making
Yes.
a dent in the problem in Africa.
Yes, we do.
So,
We do. Now, see, this is my view about Pan-Africanism. One, I started talking about this sometime last year after I I sat down to think about the diversity of that continent.
right.
We are the most diverse. That place is the most diverse on the planet.
Right.
We have over 3,000 tribes.
Yeah.
Okay, 3,000 tribes. In Nigeria alone, we have 301 tribes. Okay, so, and I said, if we are really interested in this one Africa people talk about, we need to understand and acknowledge our diversity.
Right. Right.
If we really want to work together, then we need to understand the next tribe. How are we similar? How are we different? Because until we do that, we can't work together.
Right. Right.
And I haven't seen any considerable amount of work to understand the next tribe.
Right. No, you're right. It's true.
So it doesn't seem, even for those who are shouting one Africa, it doesn't seem they are doing the work. They are willing to do the work that will allow
Mm.
Africa to be that one. Secondly, the continent physically is large. You can fit in the United States, India, China, in that, and so many other small countries in that continent.
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't make sense to think that all the tribes from east to west, north to south, ever knew the other was existing. So even though we say, okay, that the colonial masters just drew lines to separate us, in truth, we were not together.
Yeah, we all doing
Okay,
our own thing
the
before.
the people in Western Africa and the people in Eastern Africa didn't know each other. We didn't know that we existed.
Exactly.
Okay, so that story that those people came and no, okay. See, yes, we all live on the same continent, but somehow we have been separated for thousands of years that we didn't know that either of us even existed.
Right.
That's the truth. So, see, for me, do I want one Africa? If it's possible, why not?
Exactly.
But for that to be achieved, we need to start telling ourselves the truth. Let's not continue telling ourselves these myths about all of us being one people. Nah, we were never one people.
This is it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the truth. We were never one people. Yes, we all live on the same continent. Yes, we all are blacks, but we were never one people.
Yeah.
Now, do we want to be one people? If you do, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
But to make it happen, we need to start telling ourselves the truth and start understanding each other. So the work is what we need to do. See, this is part of the thing I tell people that a lot of people get angry at me.
I enjoy hearing perspectives.
If you want these things to happen, then we need to tell ourselves the truth and deal with it. Okay. Now, Pan-Africanism. I was watching a YouTube video this afternoon, and I sent it to my daughters. Okay. The question was that they were asking African Americans to how many African countries they could name and identify on the map. Unfortunately, only about one of them even knew one or two African countries by name.
One or two African countries?
Yeah, by name. Now,
it's Nigeria and Ghana then, basically.
They knew Nigeria and South Africa.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
But they knew them, but they couldn't identify them on the map.
Wow.
Okay. So, say if we say we're going for Pan-Africanism, the youths of Black youths in North America do not know anything about Africa. So all these things are things we need to do with. Okay, yeah. if we are going for that, so yeah, that's one of my rants I make from time to time, because I want people to start thinking about things, not just saying them, just saying something doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think actually, even hearing you speak, the concept of Pan-Africanism actually, based on what you've said, actually makes me think that perhaps it really came from more of a outside of Africa perspective, because inside Africa, the concept of Pan-Africanism doesn't really exist. Is an outside perspective of those of us who have been dispersed, like almost dislodged from where we were, and we needed some kind of coming together of sorts, So yeah, I think that's really where it came from.
Yeah.